Hello again. In this video, we'll be covering the use of an E6B aviation calculator and particularly how to use it in the air. The reason we're doing this as separate from using an electronic calculator is we found in practice that using an electronic calculator in the air often requires two hands, one hand to hold the calculator and the other to push the buttons, resulting in students perhaps getting into a spiral because they're not paying attention enough outside. On the other hand, an E6B can easily be used with one hand, and it actually doesn't require any battery, so you're sure it's going to work when you need it to work. So what we're going to cover is the following. Familiarization, so what's it look like and what are the different parts to it and how they work. Some basic calculations, and particularly the calculations that we do in the air. So calculate ground speed, calculate remaining time to waypoint, and calculate fuel that we're going to burn, so fuel burn. So here's the calculator that I use. It's actually not an E6B, it's a Poulies CRP1, which is a British brand, but I traded it off at some point with somebody because I really liked its design. So what it has is it has two scales, the outside scale, which is non-movable, and the inside scale, which is movable. Both of them are measured in a logarithmic scale. So it starts from 1, goes all the way up to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then back to 1 or 10 at that point. And then you can imagine it goes all the way around. The distances, of course, are not even because what it is representing is a logarithmic scale. So we can use addition of distances along these scales to do either to do multiplication or subtraction to do division. But don't let that worry about you. We'll just show you how it actually works. So the outside scale is going to be used for distances and other quantities. So kilometers, meters, liters, nautical miles, knots, and then maybe for fuel, if we want to use it for fuel, or even pounds of fuel. So whereas the inside scale is on minutes. So 60 minutes here, and then 55, 50, etc. And then, and you notice there's the two scales, there's minutes and there's hours. So 1 hour corresponds to 60 minutes. 120 minutes, no zero behind it, 2 hours. Remember, in aviation, we don't like those extra zeros, we get rid of them. So, etc. So if I keep on going in here, you'll find that 180 minutes is 3 hours, etc. So that's really when we could use you can use either scale, really. So let's take up an example. I am going to Montreal. That's a 200-kilometer trip. My speed is typically 110 kilometers an hour, so that's 110 in 60 minutes, 110 kilometers an hour. The distance I'm going to be covering is 200 kilometers, so 20, I add a 0 mentally in here, and so my time to get there is going to be 109 minutes, or 1 hour and 48 minutes, or 49 minutes. So that's how I could use this quite easily to do a very simple calculation of time and distance. So let's take a more aviation-related example now. So let's say you've calculated that your cross-country trip, you're going to be flying at a ground speed of 95. So perhaps your airplane is actually flying at a true airspeed of 105, but you've got a 10-knot headwind, so 95. So 95 nautical miles in an hour is 95 knots. Your first waypoint is 25 miles away. And as you pass over that waypoint, you calculate the time, and you find that instead of taking you 15, nearly 16 minutes, it actually took you 13 minutes. Okay, so that's interesting. So what does that mean in terms of your actual ground speed? So we turn around here and wow, we're actually doing 115. So our headwind is actually turned into a tailwind. So now we know how fast we're going. And how could we use that? Well, our next waypoint, say, is at 65 miles from there. So 65 miles is over here. I'm not going to change any of the settings because this now indicates my speed, but I want to know how long it's going to take me to get to a distance 65 miles from here. 65, and on the minute scale is 1, 2, 3, 4, 34 minutes. It's going to take me 34 minutes. That's it. So that's all I need to know. So now I thought that it was going to take me at 95 knots. My 65 was going to take me 41 minutes, but it's actually going to take me 34 minutes. Now, my concern might be, well, if I'm going faster, I don't have to worry, I've got plenty of fuel. Let's take another example. So in this case, you would plan for a trip at 110 knots ground speed. You, again, passing your 25 mile here, and you find that it actually took you 17 minutes to do that instead of what you thought it was going to take you. So now what's our speed? Oh, our ground speed is actually about 87 miles. So how long is it going to take me to get to my 65? That's very easy. 65, it's now going to take me 44 minutes. Okay, 44 minutes, not too bad, but certainly more than what I thought it was going to take me. It was going to take me 35 minutes at that speed, and it's actually not going to do that at all. So, so now 44 minutes at this speed. So how much fuel is that going to take me? Am I concerned about my fuel quantity now? Well, let's say that this airplane actually burns 9 gallons an hour. So I'm going to move my inside scale to just align with the 90, so for 90 for 9 for 60 minutes, and then go and look over here. So at 44 minutes, I'm going to burn 6.6 gallons. So hopefully I will have 6.6 gallons, and if that's the case, then I'm fine. So these are some simple examples of how you would use one of these calculators in flight. In fact, what you could do is remember this example where I was expecting to fly at 110 knots. I could just kind of flip it around using one hand. I could be still looking outside. 30 miles took me 20 minutes to do. So my real ground speed is actually 90 knots. So you can see you can actually do this quite easily with just one hand without losing control of an airplane. That's it. Thank you very much for watching, and watch for another video in this series that will talk about using electronic calculators and doing the simple calculations with it, or doing more complex calculations eventually as well.